Big come from behind win for the Knicks against the Bulls last night at the Garden. So let's chop it up with Phil Porto, co-host of the Knicks Morning Brew show. There he goes right here. What's happening, my man? Thanks for hopping on with us.
Yeah, Brandon, appreciate you, man. I know we've been talking about it for a while, so I'm glad that the schedule's finally lined up. We appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to come and just talk Knicks with you guys. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I told my teachers, man, as a kid, I got a big mouth, but I'm not all talk. I'm about that action, baby. So let's kick this thing off, man, because the Knicks in the first half didn't look like they were going to pull this one out, but they turned it on in the second half after that slow start. Thoughts on the win and the grit that they showed in that comeback?
Yeah, man. I'll be honest, that first half was so hard to watch. I remember being in the group chat with Jerry, Celso, and Hector, the other co-hosts of the Knicks Morning Brew, and we were just talking about how sloppy we looked, the turnovers, the lack of ball movement. It just seemed like we didn't know what we were doing, which was really, really hard to watch, especially because the game before against Minnesota, it just looked like things were clicking off the bat. So it was just a little hard to watch in that first half, and we were getting lit up from three. Our defense was slacking, and we just were missing the mark over and over and over again. But in that second half, like you said, we turned it around. And for me, the key points, the first one is that we started moving the ball. Because as good as our ISO players are, I've said it a million times, when we become an ISO-heavy, ISO-focused team, this roster, the way it's constructed, is not set up for success with just ISO playing. Like, it just doesn't work. So the heavy ISO players that we have, such as Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, they struggle when that is the sole thing that we're bringing to the table in that first half. And so in the second half, you saw the ball start to move. We had 17 of our 29 assists in that second half. But even more so, like, we didn't have the turnovers that we had in that first half. We had a ton of turnovers in the first half, and then we looked a lot better in the second half. And that was because the ball was moving. We continued to let that ball move. We continued to allow each person to touch it. There was a lot of cutting, which is what we saw success in that first game against Minnesota, was even with OG not knowing the offense, he was cutting, he was moving, and we were getting to him. And so our ISO players were able to succeed in that second half. Randle looked rough in the first half, and I was texting the guys once again, why can't Jalen and JR both thrive in the same game? And then in that second half, they did. Randle was cutting and moving and showing hustle. It was super impressive. 23 of his 35 points came in the second half. Also, he had 3 turnovers during that first half where we weren't flowing as a team. And then in that second half, he was more effective and had 0 turnovers. So to me, the success was moving the ball. And I don't know if you heard it, but we had 29 assists in that game, which is crazy because we've had games where we have 12 assists or 14 assists, but we had 29. And so I've said it all the time. The JR, RJ, and Jalen Brunson thing did not work because they were all very ISO in the paint centric. Now that we have movement, you're seeing that the seasoning in the food tastes delicious because we removed some of the excess salt that wasn't making it palatable. So that to me was the best thing, was that we started moving the ball, started playing as a team, and that's why we won. The only negative thing I'll say is that it looks like our bench is hurting right now, and that's the only thing that I think with the trade, we don't have someone to really facilitate, whether it was IQ or RJ with that second unit. And Julius Randle, as great as he is, I don't think that he's that piece to work with that second unit.
Yeah, Tibbs put some sasson on the scheme in that second half, and you see them come out with a 35-point third quarter to kind of get them going. So, yeah, I agree. You see the spacing on the floor. Guys are being able to step up. Julius Randle, 35 on the night. Jalen Brunson, 31 on the night. So it's time for you to give out some flowers. Who stepped up and who still stood on business?
Yeah, so, some people think that I have a problem with Julius Randle because I tend to critique where there needs to be critique. But I'm going to give him his flowers for coming out a different player in that second half than he was in that first half. That's huge, to be able to turn it around and say, this isn't working, let's try something new, and it be effective. I'm going to give OG his flowers because he's showing his value right off the bat. 62.5% shooting, 8 rebounds, 2 steals. And like Randle said, OG fits seamlessly. He plays the right way. So flowers there. But for me, the golden ticket is Hartenstein. These last 2 games, it's like we unlocked a cheat code for him. Like 11 points, 66.7% shooting, 20 freaking rebounds, and 6 blocks. He got a well-deserved standing ovation, and he is allowing that pressure that was put on his shoulder to step up when Mitch was out, and he's been able to rise to that occasion. He's been able to take that pressure, and he's been able to perform time and time again, and I think that was crucial to see him do it these last 2 games going into this next game. So he gets my flowers first and foremost.
Yeah, we talk about next man up in sports all the time. Mitch Robb going down. iHeart stepped up big, man. 10 points, 20 boards on the night. That's a force. You're gonna get some putbacks. You're gonna get some extra chances on that when you got a guy manning the boards like that. All right, 2-0 on the new year, 2-0 on the week. They head down to Philly on Friday night. The floor is yours, my man. How do they make it 3 in a row?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. Philly's going to be hard to play. All right, they're a 23-10 team for a reason. Losing Harden was the best thing to happen to that squad. So in order for the Knicks to win and make it 3 in a row, we need to see ball movement off the bat. As soon as we hit the tip off, we need to be able to pass that ball because this team can really expose us if we just play ISO the whole time. So we have to continue to cut. We have to continue to create. And a huge thing we need to do is we need to use OG a little bit more on that offensive end because in order for Jalen and Randle to succeed in their ISO and not get double teamed, they need to feel like OG is actually a threat for our offense. So we need to make sure that we include him a little bit more, not just find him when he's cutting, but also show that we are willing to kind of revolve some of the offense around him. And now we have 3 threats that they have to worry about and not just 2. We have to see the same from iHeart. We have seen these last 2 games that he can step up, he can perform, and yes, it's Embiid, but iHeart has defended and showed up twice in these last 2 games against bigs that are strong, powerful, and effective in the paint, such as Gobert and Drummond. So if we're going to be successful, we need to see that kind of performance from him as well. And the last thing is we need the bench to contribute. I think our starting lineup can put up a really good fight with their starting lineup. But any upper hand that we can get when Embiid, Maxey, and Oubre on the bench is an upper hand that we have to capitalize on. Like, we have to figure out a way to get those stretches of times where we're able to then run and build upon the last 2 wins, and that's going to come from us actually performing with the bench in this game. I feel like they will give us our upper hand, and that'll be the way that we can compete with one of the best in the East in the Philadelphia 76ers.
Absolutely. I love the passion, man. Show the people where they can find you and rep your platform.
Yeah, so if you find us on Twitter, it's going to be Brew Crew Sports _. But on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@Morning Brew Sports.